Here this week, 17 years old, Paul McHugh. There he is. He has won 2 titles this week, the junior sprint, and then he went on to surprise everybody when he won the senior sprint as well. And he's being held up there by Eddie Soanes, the maker of many, many world champions. And Eddie Soanes says that this young 17-year-old is likely to be the greatest sprint cyclist the world has ever seen, and in a very few short years from now. So, in this semi-final here in the Pirelli Grand Prix, he faces Paul Swinnerton, now a professional, a very experienced sprinter indeed, and a rider who's had a marvellous championships here. McHugh waiting for the off. This is the semi-final, best of 3 rides as the whistle goes. McHugh, having lost this first draw, now must lead voluntarily away from the start, and if Swinnerton doesn't want to go in front, he needn't do so for the first lap. McHugh has all the speed one requires to be a world-class sprinter. His times on this track this week have compared with 8 times world champion, the Japanese Koichi Nakano, who won the world title a week ago in Spain. And according to Eddie Soanes, Nakano should now watch out. Well, McHugh has come through to the semi-final untroubled here. He lacks a little bit of track sense, and that's certainly something that Paul Swinnerton does not lack. So Swinnerton on the front, show a great deal of respect for this man of 17 years of age from Liverpool. McHugh will follow him around as best he can. Swinnerton wants to know exactly where he is. Amateur sprint champion in 1981, Paul Swinnerton, now a professional. Silver medals this week too here on the track for Swinnerton. He looks over his shoulder now, sees McHugh riding high on the wooden track. 1.5 laps to go. And McHugh says that he believes himself he'll be better than the great Reg Harris. And Reg Harris, of course, the finest sprint cyclist Britain has ever known. Swinnerton checking all the time where McHugh is. McHugh, he knows, has a tremendous turn of speed, having broken the track record here with 10.8 seconds for the last 200 metres this week. The bell has gone, but no sign of the sprint opening up as they go down towards the back straight now. McHugh stalks Swinnerton. Swinnerton will wait as long as possible. Now goes towards the bottom of the track. The first man inside the yellow line on the track holds that position and mustn't come out of it, but that reason is why Swinnerton keeps McHugh high on the track, makes him take the long way around. But look at the speed of Paul McHugh. He wins at a canter. What a tremendous ride. He really wasn't at all troubled by Paul Swinnerton, and so that's 1-0 up for Paul McHugh. If he wins again next match, then he's in the final. And we can see here just how easy it was for Paul McHugh. His face very passive indeed, the power coming straight from the legs. He starts to move over the shoulder of Paul Swinnerton, former British champion, remember, in the sprint, now a professional. And as the line comes up, McHugh is just watching the front wheel of Swinnerton and having no trouble at all in winning.
On the outside, the second semi-final of the Pirelli Grand Prix between Yave Cahard at the back from France and Terry Tinsley, the British professional sprint champion, at the front. The best of 3 at this stage, and 3 laps to be covered of this Saffron Lane Stadium. And Cahard, the big burly Frenchman, has elected to go to the front, and as he started on the outside, it was his honour actually to follow Tinsley throughout the first lap, but he hasn't bothered at all with that tactic, and really showing no regard for the British champion. So what can this big burly Frenchman do? And I wonder if he'll go for a good time over the 200 metres. He's still adjusting his toe strap, something I would have thought he would have got right before he started, but he has the experience, and no doubt he knows what he's going to do, and he has ridden on this track before, and he's had quite a few creditable performances at world level. Cahard second in the Olympics in 1980, and he has been second in the professional sprint championships in 1983, and he was third this year. So a man in form, and a formidable task for Terry Tinsley. A powerful character he is, this man from France. he'll get the bell this time. So Tinsley, who's won 2 national championships this week, with a lot to do if he's going to beat this tough character from France. Cahard then looking, Tinsley looking for the inside. Cahard closes it down, and Tinsley's on the wheel. So still Cahard at the front, and now he's starting to accelerate. Tinsley trying to come up and offer a challenge on the outside, but Cahard's going to take that on the line. So 1 up to Cahard of France. Cahard already into his stride, and Tinsley trying to close the gap, but leaving himself a lot of work to do. And he has got to come round the outside, and that is the longest and the hardest way. And he doesn't quite make it on the line. 11.78 for the last 200 metres.
And so to the second match in the Pirelli Grand Prix in the semi-finals. And this a very important match for Terry Tinsley, because he must win this match against Yave Cahard of France to force a decider and to see who goes into the final. Cahard on the inside, this massive man from France, who a week ago finished 3rd in the World Sprint Championship in Barcelona. And 4 years ago, Cahard was 3rd in the Olympic sprint title. So Cahard obliged to lead off in this second match. Tinsley, having been put in that position 1 match ago, and he lost to Cahard right on the line. And Cahard's gone right down in the well of the track, so Tinsley is going to be content to stalk him around the wooden boards at Leicester here. Former sprint champion Terry Tinsley. In fact, last year he won 3 titles on this track during the National Championships week. Hasn't been quite such a successful week for him this year, but nonetheless he has some good form. He knows Cahard very well indeed. He raced against him in the World Championships in Barcelona, but went out in the early rounds, and Cahard showing him a great deal more respect than he showed Dave LeGrice, another British champion, in the early rounds. Massive man, tremendous turn of speed. And Cahard rolling around this wooden track. Tinsley clearly wants the advantage from behind. He puts his hand on the tyre there to slow down the machine. No brakes, of course, on the velodrome. The only way to stop is to kick back very hard indeed on those pedals, or just let your machine run out of steam. Well, Cahard's lap time so far, about a second outside the track record this week, or not the track record, but the best times done by Paul McHugh, 17 years of age. Just over 10.8 seconds. Cahard now still riding very, very high on the steep banking, but now riding high and forcing Tinsley to make his move if he wishes underneath. Tinsley content still to follow. McHugh is the rider who wants to get his teeth into Yave Cahard, but first of all, Cahard has to beat Terry Tinsley, and at the bell, Cahard needs to win this one to go through into the final. Tinsley needs to win it to force a deciding match. Tinsley still follows the reactions of Cahard. Half a lap to go now, coming into 200 metres, and that's the line they've chosen to go. Cahard winds it up, takes the inside. Tinsley coming well on the outside there. But Cahard nudges Tinsley above the line. There'll be no objection for that. Tinsley is going to try again now. Cahard puts on full power, comes home very, very easily. So Yave Cahard of France goes 2-0 up and takes his place in the final.
And riding safely through 11.892. 11.892 for second ride.
And we can see now how Cahard went 2-0 up very, very easily indeed. Tinsley did try here. He was given a little reminder by the back wheel of Cahard. It wasn't serious enough, I don't think, for an objection from Tinsley. Tinsley recovered well, tried to come once more out of the big Frenchman's slipstream, but he really had no chance at all, and the time 11.82.
We'll see if that young man from Manchester, Paul McHugh, can join him in the final when we go back to the cycling a little later on this afternoon. Now, have we got some race? First race in the sprint semi-final. Well, he needs to win the second one to make absolutely sure of a place in the final. Let's see.
The British sprint champion Paul McHugh, 17 years of age, from Liverpool, with one win under his belt over Paul Swinnerton. And this win will see him into the final to meet the winner of the previous round, Yave Cahard of France. So Paul McHugh with the one against his name. That tells us he won the first ride.
Both riders being ready. Pay attention. Over to you. Start.
And Paul Swinnerton, the former British amateur sprint champion, leading off on the inside.
Pirelli Grand Prix.
So Swinnerton has to lead for this first lap unless McHugh elects to pass him. And in the first ride, Swinnerton tried all the tricks that he knew to outfox this newcomer, but it was the strength and skill of McHugh and blistering speed down the finishing straight that gave him victory quite comfortably in 13.42 seconds over the closing 200 metres. So this exciting 17-year-old, twin straps, retaining his feet into the clips. And all the press have really gone to town on this young man this week, because they reckon, and a lot of the pures of sprinting reckon, that this could be the best prospect in British sprinting for many, many years. And with times like 10.8, which he clocked during the championships this week, the fastest time ever recorded by a Briton, I think we have a potential world champion on our hands. And Eddie Soames, his coach, has said that this boy can go much quicker. The competition will bring the best out of him. Well, he was 5th in the Junior World Championships last month, and he definitely is a man with a bright future. Swinnerton then with a lot to do. If he wants to stay in this competition, he has to beat McHugh in this ride to go to a third meeting. So there's the bell, 1 lap to go. Swinnerton again electing to try and keep McHugh high against the balustrade and not letting the stockier figure get into his stride, hoping that the stalling tactics will suit the big man from Stoke at the front. So similar style of event to the first meeting, and Swinnerton once again stalling and pushing McHugh high up the banking now. Swinnerton will dive down, he does, he uses the height of the banking to pick up his speed, but McHugh's coming over the outside and he looks at him, and on the line that looked as though McHugh won that with comparative ease. In fact, Swinnerton acknowledges that McHugh is the victor. Swinnerton at the front, pushing McHugh high up the track towards the balustrade, and then taking the height of the banking as he dives down into the well of the track to pick up the speed. But the speed of the burly character McHugh is quite staggering, and he beats Swinnerton on the line quite comfortably. 13.56 for the last 200 metres.
Do you hear the time? You need a cool head for that sport, and that young man certainly seems to have one. He's into the final against Cahard of France. We'll see it a bit later on. We're off racing. Our second race from Manchester, and Cahard of France. Best of 3 races.
So this is the final of the Pirelli Grand Prix sprint. Paul McHugh of Great Britain on the left, the British amateur sprint champion, just 17 years of age, and his opponent from France, the very, very experienced Yave Cahard, a man who was 2nd in the Olympic Games in 1980, and this year in the professional sprint he took the bronze medal in Barcelona. But McHugh told me yesterday that he has dreamt of this opportunity. He wanted to get the British competitors out of the way because he felt this was a great chance for him to compete against a world-class sprinter, and for him to show the British crowd just what he is capable of. Small, stocky figure, this Manchester wheeler rider, McHugh, only 17 in July, and really a man with a wonderful future in front of him. 10.48. 10.848 for 200 metres. He clocked in the national championships, and that really is very, very fast indeed. But here, a formidable opponent in Cahard. Big, powerful Frenchman. And Cahard knows what it's like to be a world champion, because back in 1979, along with his teammate Depine, he was the world tandem sprint champion. Well, McHugh's coach, Eddie Soames, said to me that he hasn't really shown us what he can do. He was waiting until the final, so he now has the chance, and we will see just what the Liverpudlian can pull out in this first meeting between these two. He's stalking Cahard very, very close, and they're high on the track, right up against the balustrade fence. Not much daylight between them, and there it is, the bell. So just one lap to go of this Saffron Lane Stadium. McHugh high on the track, Cahard at the bottom. So the Frenchman at this stage looking ready to lead this one out, but there, McHugh right up on the wheel now of Cahard now. They're slowly getting into it, but now the Frenchman accelerating, really pulling on those bars now. Can McHugh get over Cahard? This is his first real big test. Oh, that was a tight one on the line. We'll have to wait for the judges, but McHugh punches the air with delight, so he indicates to the crowd that he thinks he's got it, but we'll have to wait for confirmation. The time was 11.909 for the last 200 metres. So Cahard, that big, powerful Frenchman, now into his stride, and McHugh having to come the long way round the outside, burying his head and looking across, and they're still going to the line as McHugh hits the line, and that took a bit of splitting there, but McHugh's confident that he has won, and that puts the English sprint champion one up.
Well, that was confirmed later, because first of all the judges took a look at the photograph and gave it to the Frenchman, then looked again and gave it indeed to McHugh, so he is indeed one up. If he wins the next race, well, he's the champ. We'll be back to see what happens. Second race of the sprint final, Paul McHugh from Manchester up against that man from France, Cahard, and if McHugh wins this, he's done the business.
So Paul McHugh, who he's one up in this final between Yave Cahard, and it was a photo finish that decided the result, and McHugh won by just the width of a tyre. So just one ride separates this man away from winning his first big international Grand Prix, and this is the Pirelli Grand Prix sprint. A 17-year-old looking very, very calm, and what a week he's had this week, winning the British Amateur Sprint Championship and then adding the junior crown to it, and he is the first man ever to achieve the double in the same week. Also staggering figures, he's ridden for 200 metres at 10.848 for the last 200 metres, and that is the fastest by any Briton. Being held up there by his coach, Eddie Soames, and Soames, well, having a little chuckle, because he said to me a little bit ago that this boy really is something special. Well, there's the man on the left that stands between him and the winner, winning the final, and that's Yave Cahard of France, the silver medalist in the 1980 Olympic Games. So McHugh, one up. So the first meeting between these two was a very, very close fought affair, and it went to the photo, and I must admit it was very hard to split them. McHugh, as he went over the line, indicated to the crowd that he thought he had won, but the judges had to confirm this, and it was the width of a tyre. So what will this one produce? This big, burly figure, Cahard from France, who really can pump out all the speed. But McHugh, not afraid at all of this international opposition. In fact, he's absolutely reveling in it, and this is the opportunity he wanted. Well, the crowd will certainly go absolutely mad if McHugh wins this one, because they've really taken to this small, stocky man from Liverpool. And when he gets to the line next time, he will get the bell, and there'll be just one lap to decide. the winner of this round, and will it be the Manchester Wheeler rider, the new British amateur sprint champion? Quite a speed on this wind-up, high against the balustrade fence. There's going to be no standstills in this one, and McHugh still at the front. And he had to come the long way around last time because it was the Frenchman that led out. Now, is the Frenchman going to elect to dive under in the element of surprise? No, it's McHugh. He's going from the front, so he's going to use all his raw speed to try and hold off the challenge of Cahard. Now he really is getting into his stride, really pedalling a dicky pedal, and listen to the crowd as they get behind him. He's going across the track, but McHugh wins that comfortably. The Frenchman had no answer to the speed of the British sprint champion. And there, Cahard acknowledges the victor, and that is Paul McHugh. So McHugh riding round, now safe in the knowledge that he has won this Pirelli Grand Prix. Big broad smile on his face, and he waves to the appreciative crowd, and the last 200 metres were recorded in 11.366. So McHugh this time electing to go from the front. So Cahard really with the advantage at the back because he's in the slipstream of the British champion, but this small, powerful sprinter from Liverpool packs a lot of raw speed. Here I thought he wavered out on the line a bit, but there was no objection from Cahard, and McHugh wins comfortably on the line.
Paul McHugh, the British national junior and senior sprint champion.
And so there are the happy smiles of Hugh McHugh, and that I think he will rate better than his victory this week in the junior and senior sprints. He's beaten one of the fastest men in the world, and perhaps the words of Eddie Soanes will come true. This is a young world champion in the making.
Well, we could do with a new young cycling star. I think we've got one. Nice to see. Let me just... Esther, let's go.
Reg himself.
Well, there
in his career next year. At 17, Paul McHugh is Britain's youngest senior sprint champion, a prize he captured at Leicester during the summer. Now he's being tipped as a future world champion, a feat last achieved by the legendary Reg Harris in the early 1950s. This report now from Paul Newman.
It's taken less than 5 years for Paul McHugh to make the giant step from talented schoolboy cyclist to potential world sprint champion. Quite simply, he's now Britain's hottest property on two wheels for more than 30 years. His double of winning both the British junior and senior amateur titles in the same week is unique, and he followed that with a remarkable international victory against a Frenchman who'd previously been an Olympic silver medalist.
quite a speed on this wind-up, high against the balustrade fence. There's going to be no standstills in this one, and McHugh still at the front. He had to come the long way around last time because it was the Frenchman that led out. Now, is the Frenchman going to elect to dive under in the element of surprise? No, it's McHugh. He's going from the front, so he's going to use all his raw speed to try and hold off the challenge of Cahard. Now he really is getting into his stride, really pedaling a dicky pedal, and listen to the crowd as they get behind him. He's going across the track, but McHugh wins that comfortably. The Frenchman had no answer to the speed of the British sprint champion.
Weight training plays an essential part in any sporting success these days, and cycling is no exception. During the closed season, when the winter weather reduces road and track work to a minimum, the gymnasium provides an invaluable substitute. A punishing training schedule 3 times a week keeps Paul in peak condition, and he'll certainly have to be at his best next year with the World Junior and Senior Championships providing the ultimate challenge. But hasn't Paul's spectacular progress to date been a little unexpected, even to him?
Well, it hasn't surprised me, or like the people who know me, but it surprised the rest of the cycling world because, like, up until the Junior World Championship, which was 2 weeks before our national championship, like, nobody had heard of me. So, like, it was a shock to them.
And what sort of a reaction then did you get from your senior colleagues?
Yeah, well, like Mark Barry, who was the defending champion, he found it a bit hard, really. Like, it kind of left him in tears. Because like he's had it his own way for so long, but now it's changed, and now I'm on the top.
Will it be difficult for you to emulate your performances of this year when it comes to next season?
No, I think it'll be, like, really, it should be a lot easier because now I know what to do. So, like, next year, like, I'm going to be right up there with them, so.
What are you aiming to achieve particularly then next year?
Well, I want to be Junior World Champion next year and get a medal in the Senior World Championship.
Since the great days of Reg Harris, Britain has failed to produce anything even approaching a world cycling sprint champion. Harris won 2 silver medals in the 1948 London Olympics and followed that performance with a succession of world titles. Today, aged 64, Reg Harris came face to face with the heir apparent Paul McHugh for the first time. It was a reunion too for Paul's veteran coach Eddie Sowens. Eddie was involved in many a tussle on the track with Reg, and now at 72 is one of cycling's greatest characters.
I'm glad he's here today for you to meet him. To me, you are the best since Reg. Now, whether you're going to be as good or better than Reg, only time will tell. But there's no question that we haven't had a top sprinter since Reg. There's no doubt about that. You see, they've all concentrated on tactics. He had one tactic, and that was the ability to go faster than the other fella. Our fellas have concentrated on standing still, switching, everything. Now, you know that all I've concentrated on with you is the same as he concentrated on, the ability to go fast. That's why you've done what you've done.
Well, you seem to be going the right way. What you've got to do really is to get off your mark faster than anybody else. You've got to have the strength to hold it, and you've got to have a fast finish. And then you don't need fancy riding. No. We're wrong to say you don't need tactics, because however fast you are, you can lose a race by being stupid. Yeah. And there's no point in putting all the hard work in just to be stupid and lose what you're doing it for.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm sure Eddie's been drumming that into you anyway, hasn't he?
Well, all I've told him is that in the case of any Englishman, nobody can beat him, only himself.
I think what one's got to remember, whether it's Paul or any other would-be champion, it seems hard to get to the top. When you get there, it's a lot harder to stay there. You become the bullseye for every aspiring champion, and also you've got the responsibility to the public. If you're top of the bill, they expect you to perform like top of the bill.
Well, with you at your best, with Paul at your best, who'd have won?
I don't think you can really compare the old ones with the young ones because things are so totally different, but it is bound to have been a good match. He wouldn't have got past easily.
He would have been a bit difficult to beat from the tactical point, but as I say, on times I'm faster than him, and with the experience, he might have been a little bit easy.
I feel power-fagged watching young Paul, but I'd love to see...
In a couple of years' time, he's going to join the list of Liverpool greats. His sport is sprint cycling, and we sent a former world champion pursuit cyclist, Hugh Porter, along to meet him.
I've come to see one of Britain's brightest track prospects for a world gold medal, Paul McHugh. He was 17 last July and took up cycling at the age of 12. 2 years ago, he gained a bronze medal in the schoolboy sprint when he was 15. He spent the majority of last season preparing for speed, and 2 weeks ago, in the British National Track Championships, he rewrote the record book by becoming the first cyclist to win both the senior and junior crowns in a week. He completed this memorable 7 days by winning the international sprint, beating Frenchman Yave Cahard, who had won a bronze medal in the World Professional Sprint Championships just a week before. Quite a speed on this wind-up, high against the balustrade fence. There's going to be no standstills in this one, and McHugh still at the front. He had to come the long way around last time because it was the Frenchman that led out. Now, is the Frenchman going to elect to dive under in the element of surprise? No, it's McHugh. He's going from the front, so he's going to use all his raw speed to try and hold off the challenge of Cahard. Now he really is getting into his stride, really pedalling a nifty pedal, and listen to the crowd as they get behind him. He's going across the track, but McHugh wins that comfortably. The Frenchman had no answer to the speed of the British sprint champion. And there, Cahard acknowledges the victor, and that is Paul McHugh. Paul, how did you feel after that victory?
Well, I felt great, really, because it's the first big win I've had against top international competition. So, it was good.
How did you get into cycling?
Well, I started off when I was 12. I joined the Kirby CC. I was just doing criteriums. Then in 1982, I entered the national track championship and got a bronze medal in the schoolboy sprint. And then I just concentrated on sprinting from there.
Eddie, you've been Paul's coach for 2 years. You've worked with many great champions. How do you rate him?
As a sprinter, I must definitely put him in the category of a Reg Harris. And Reg, to me, of course, I raced with Reg. When I say I raced with him, I watched him go over the finishing line from behind many times. I think Paul is the greatest prospect as an Englishman for a sprint title I've seen since 1954.
What's special about him?
I think the main thing about him is that his dedication. I've never met a lad of, when I met him really to work with when he was 15, who knew where he was going, what he was going to do, the dedication and application. Nobody knows, only me.
We do like 6 days a week, really. Like I need a day's rest, otherwise, you know, it just worked me into the ground. But I can train behind this motorbike, and we do like 4 sprints. Then Eddie shouts, and I go as fast as I can to a finishing point. 3 standing starts, which is an effort from like 0 speed to as fast as I can, and say 300 metres.
Right. Ready? Go! That's it! Go on! Go on! Go on!
You've achieved a lot already. Where do you see yourself going now?
Well, next year I aim to be junior world champion and possibly get a medal in the senior worlds. And then really I want to be world champion by 1987 and win the Olympic sprint in 1988.
An awful lot of determination in that young man, and I'm sure all his ambitions will be for...
Girls in their poppy red jackets and skirts, cream blouses with a red bow tie, carrying cream bags and wearing white shoes. A lot of familiar faces. A team that won 38 gold medals 4 years ago. A bit of fun in the background. It isn't raining, but the umbrella held